Okay, Hector, we are
Good.
here. We are
Yes,
here, bro. It is free agency, one of my favorite times of the year. If you're
same.
watching on my channel, thank you. If you're watching on Uptown Sports TV, thank you. Me and Hector are doing a lot of collaborations moving
Mhm.
forward. So y'all will hear more about that, which we'll talk about on the show. But today is NBA free agency, and we had to do it live.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to do something. The Knicks is something, the Nets is something, obviously locally, but a lot of shit's gone
Mm.
down around the league, which we're going to talk about. And man, I don't even know where to start. I think the biggest thing that happened though today, Hack,
Yeah.
is this Denver and
Mhm.
Brooklyn trade. We're going to talk
Mhm.
about it. Um, but there's so much that went down. Follow Hector, follow me. You see right here on the ticker, Hector, Uptown Sports TV, Latino Sports is great work covering baseball and a whole bunch of other every sport, really. And then my work, I was on the New York Post Live. We did a watch along for free agency from 6 to 8. So we did 2 hours. Then I came home and started doing this. Hector, let's pull it up on the screen. Let's not waste any more time.
Let's go,
We
baby.
got
Let's
we
go.
got the Cam Johnson, Michael Porter Jr. trade. We're gonna break this down and everything else that happened.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for having me on. Again, shout out to the chat, everybody who's in the building. If you guys can, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. But when this chat, when this broke the airways, when this hit my Twitter timeline, and Bryan, I didn't know what to do. My fault. I was looking at my guy Ant in the chat. Shout out to Hector. Shout out to Future. Everybody who's in the building.
Super chat already. Shout out to Hector. Denver Nuggets trade Michael Porter Jr. an unprotected 2032 first round pick to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson. This was big to me. This is to me the move of free agency so far, even though obviously it's a trade. But we talked about this a little bit earlier when we were on the stream on the New York Post YouTube account. I
Yeah.
love this because for Brooklyn, who's trying to suck, like Nets fans, y'all know this. They're not trying to win right now, which is fine. Like they're in a great position to rebuild. And I think right now, taking in Michael Porter Jr., it's like it's okay. But getting off of Cam Johnson, being able to get a first round pick for Cam Johnson is a win. But for Denver, bro, Denver gets Cam Johnson, who's a much better fit around Nikola Jokic because he doesn't need the ball as much and he could defend better. And obviously, with Nikola Jokic, he's going to have a lot of open corner threes. What was your reaction like when you saw this go down? Because I loved it for both sides, but I really loved it for Denver.
I loved it for Denver because when you look at Michael Porter Jr. coming into the league, the one thing that's been a question mark when it comes to Michael Porter Jr. has been his injury history, has been his health. So if the Denver Nuggets, who are in a little bit of, I don't want to say a transition period right now because they still have Jokic and they needed to add an extra dynamic scorer, Cam Johnson is young. Cam Johnson is somebody who is available, and that's somebody that you could just throw right next to Jokic, put him in that system in Denver, even though they fired their head coach. We'll get into head coaches later on in the conversation, but I'm excited to see what happens with Denver going in the rest of free agency, but also Brooklyn. You bring up Brooklyn trying to rebuild. They got a bunch of picks for the future. Michael Porter Jr., I think he did injure himself in game 2. I'm looking at it right now. In game 2 of the last, in the show, he injured his shoulder in game 2 of that playoff series. So will he be ready to start the season? I gotta believe, yeah. But it's interesting to see where Brooklyn is trying to set themselves up, not just for now, but for the future.
It's interesting because they're in asset just accumulation mode. Brooklyn is. And Sean Marks, when he's allowed to be a GM, he could be a pretty good GM. He did, I thought, a really good job before getting Kevin Durant and Kyrie. Not that that was a bad job. Obviously, it didn't work out. But like to build up to get to that point from where the Nets were 3 years prior to actually pulling that off, I thought was a great job. And a lot of it was hitting around the margins, but a lot of it started with deals like this where you give up somebody good, you take a first-round pick back. You know what I mean? Like the pick that they got Jared Allen with, who became an all-star, and who became really a cornerstone until they got DeAndre Jordan, which, whatever. But that was part of the Kevin Durant package. Ultimately, they got Jared Allen in a trade involving Bojan Bogdanovic, who just retired, which makes me feel old. But like these are the kinds of moves that the Nets should be making. It's like moving this guy for a first. The next one I'm watching for Brooklyn is Nick Clarkson. I want to see what happens there because Nick Clarkson has a few years left on his deal. As a matter of fact, I have it right here. We're going to pull it up in a second. But and by the way, this does save a little bit of money for Brooklyn as well because of the difference in contracts. So we're going to pull up the salary cap table. We're going to have a
Yeah.
lot going on here with the screen share. We're both sharing screens. Like we got a lot of shit going on. Hector's going to bring up the transactions, and I'm going to bring up the money so we can really get into this. Clarkson, you see it here. 25.3 million descends to 23.1 and then 21 that last year. So it's 3 more years, but like you could still move that. It's not like the biggest thing in the world. And then over here, Cam Johnson, he's getting 21 and then 23. He's extension eligible, I believe. So if Denver wants to do that, then you see up here, Michael Porter Jr., 38 million and then almost 41 next year. So I mean, he's also extension eligible. It actually says it right here. So roughly 17 million more the Nets are taking in. I thought they maybe could have gotten more than a pick, but I think it's fine. I think Michael Porter Jr. will lead the tank, so to speak.
Yeah. But if you look at the whole lead in the tank, right, it's interesting you bring it up. When you look at Michael Porter Jr.'s money, right, that they were able to get a first-round pick for Cam Johnson, and they were able to get Michael Porter Jr., who next year, his contract turns into a very interesting expiring deal with $41 million left on it. So it's setting up Brooklyn first-round pick right now, and then you could probably get another first-round pick, if not 2, when it's time to trade Michael Porter Jr. and his expiring contract when you bring it on some money, trying to help out a team who's trying to be more flexible with the cap space.
That's one of the things to keep in mind too, and we're going to get to other trades because we got a lot to get to, and we're going to hit some comments too. Thank everybody in the chat, obviously. As far as this goes, one of the things to keep in mind is some guys, whether or not they move now, they might have more value in February when the trade deadline happens because if you watch the NBA, there's just so many more injuries happen, it feels like, than before, and statistically that is the case. So like injuries will happen during the season, and other guys will become more attractive in terms of their value. So with Michael Porter Jr., for example, if somebody gets hurt and they're like, damn, we need a scorer, and they feel like they have a shot, then especially next year when he's expiring, but I think that's something to watch. So I thought it was smart for the Nets, and it's like, what you have to reach a salary floor anyway, so you have to take in the money ultimately. And as far as the pick goes, I mean, we don't know because it's several years away, but presumably Nikola Jokic won't be playing by that point. So who knows what's going to happen. Maybe that ends up being a really, really good pick. Legend of Experiment, thank you for chiming in. The Nuggets just got way better. I agree. I love this.
Yeah.
And heck, also, they got Bruce Brown back for a year.
Yes, that was another one that I wanted to bring up too. Because you look at Bruce Brown, that's somebody that, talking about our Knicks, that's a guy that Tom Thibodeau was heavily wanting the Knicks to go after when he was available in free agency, right? So when you look at Bruce Brown, you're able to get two pieces back. One, Cam Johnson, you could build for the future, and Bruce Brown, who's a proven veteran who's already helped you win in the system that you already had with Mike Malone.
And on top of that, like, I didn't think he made a lot of sense for the Knicks because he's basically like a shorter Josh Hart. I was like, I don't know if you need both on the same team, but whatever. Dean, I don't like this for Denver. What's the issue with Porter's health? He played 81 games last season, 77 this past season. So he has famously just shaky medicals. If you remember, he was one of the best players in high school, probably the best player in the country when he was in high school. And he's had back issues, and back issues don't often get better. Like, you can mitigate them, but like that's something that's going to be lingering throughout the rest of his career. Then you have this shoulder injury. And then also, Dean, from a fit standpoint, we talked about this, and Hector, we both mentioned, like, the ability for Cam Johnson to catch and shoot off of Jokic is different because Michael Porter Jr. he needs to get creative with the ball. He needs the ball a little bit more to be effective. And Cam Johnson is a more natural fit, also a better defender. Like, I think he's way better considering the money also. I think he's just a better fit for Denver. Maybe he's not a better player in a vacuum. Like, you could debate that. I think some people would still even say that. But ultimately, he's a better fit for what they're trying to do. Whereas I think Michael Porter Jr. for what the Nets are trying to do actually does make sense. And he's a high salary so that if the Nets wanted to reroute him in the future, like, they can get into some serious conversations depending on where they are and because they have a ton of draft capital.
Yeah, and also too, when you look at where the Nuggets were when it comes to that second apron, you're gonna have to cut some money, and you're gonna have to move some pieces around, move some contracts around. When you look at Cam Johnson's contract, it's literally almost half, if not a little bit less than half, than what Michael Porter Jr. is gonna be making in a couple of years, right? And they were able to get Bruce Brown on top of it, so it just makes sense for Denver because of that second apron that's there. And we'll get into that second apron because a lot of people are blaming C.J. McCollum for that. I know. I'm glad you know what I'm talking about.
Listen, I've read CBA, and I'm trying to remember every single detail that not the easiest thing in the world. Legend of Experiment says Cam could create his own shot. I would add he probably won't need to a ton, but the ability is there. Michael Porter Jr. is better than him at that, but I think the real selling point is this: he could defend better, could even play make a little. It's just the shooting from three is going to be great. Like I don't think I think Denver still needs to probably do something else, but I thought this just makes a lot of sense. He has this a win-win for both. Jacob said, "What's up?" You already threw up that comment. What's up, Jacob? How you doing? Alex says, "Happy Monday." It's damn near Tuesday, but I appreciate it's almost July, which is crazy, bro. What?
Oh. I just realized that. So my girlfriend pointed it out to me today that like summertime is literally here. Like, so we're literally in summertime. And to go back on Cam Johnson, when we look at catch and shoot 3-pointers, Cam Johnson is at 42.6% from beyond the arc on catch and shoot 3-pointers.
Jesus. Pretty loose says Knicks keeping Cat ? Probably.
Yeah,
it looks that way as of now.
Shout out my guy Pretty Lou and the family over there at Mama D's Empanada. Shout out to you, fam.
Ooh, okay, absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta hit up that spot, bro. They got some real good eats.
I hear it. Let's see what we got here. Else, Dean, I think you came back with something, right? Realizing that the deal did save Denver $17 million, which is the reason for the pick, so it makes some sense. Yeah, Denver wanted to shed some salary too, so there's part of it. I think it's fit. I think it's money. I loved it. Let's get into the Knicks and what they did before going around the rest of the league. Jordan Clarkson. Now, literally today, when we did the live to start free agency, I said, this is who the Knicks should get. I said this in February too. We may have even talked about this. I said this in February too. It was like, this is who they should get to come off the bench. And we had Stephen Bonnie today before this broke, and he actually broke the story before Shams did. He said the interest was real. It was just a matter of are they going to offer the veteran minimum or whatever. I'm surprised they got him for the veteran minimum, but I also think it's because they being Utah bought him out. So he's probably like, I'm going to keep X amount of money. I don't need like a lot, whatever. Let's just get me on a good team. But I love this fit. Heck.
Same. 100%. Jordan Clarkson is a name that Knicks fans have been wanting on this team, not just last year or the year before. For the past like 3, 4, maybe even 5 seasons, Knicks fans have been wanting Jordan Clarkson on the team. When the news broke, my girlfriend is the one that alerted me to it. She got the ESPN notification. Shout out to my girl. She's the best. But she's the one who let me know about it. And immediately I was like, oh, my God, this is a move that I'm 100% down for, especially when we look at the vet minimum. It still allows the Knicks to be furious, or it still allows the Knicks to maneuver around when it comes to their cap space because they're in their second apron as well. So I'm down for the Jordan Clarkson move. You know, Brian, the one thing, and me, you, and Dex, when we did the watch along over at the New York Post, the one issue that we have, what are the Knicks going to do when Jalen Brunson is on the bench? Where are the points going to come when Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns is not on the court at the same time? Because both OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, I love both of them to death. I do love them and I respect their game. They have not shown us consistently that they can be relied on to score game in and game out when Jalen Brunson and Cat is on the bench. That's just how I felt. I know Clarkson's a little bit up there in age, but he can still score with the best of them.
I think the other key is if you have someone backing up Jalen Brunson, you need that person to also be able to play with Jalen Brunson because there are going to be times where it's like, all right, you're just going to need the scoring. Jordan Clarkson is not a guy that you only want to play in the non-Jalen Brunson minutes because he's not a guy that plays just 12 minutes a game. That's not what he does. He's one of the best 6 men in the league, and that's what he's going to be in New York to do. So you're going to need him to run the second unit. You're going to need him to win the non-Brunson minutes, but you also need him to be able to play with Jalen Brunson when he's out there, because there's going to be times where you're going to need to close with both of them. Like Josh Hart, you got to take a seat. This team needs to go offense, whatever. Still don't know who the coach is yet. There's rumors about Mike Brown. There's rumors about like Dawn Staley, which that one surprised me. I think Dawn Staley would be a great NBA head coach. I just don't get the sense she wants to be an NBA head coach. Otherwise, I feel like she'd be more vocal about that, especially because of everything she's accomplished.
I'm laughing because I would welcome it. I just saw the meltdown that was going on Knicks Twitter from all the grown ass men with neck beards complaining about it. But I would take her in a heartbeat, bro. Trust me.
They were like, bro, say psych. You know what I mean? Why not Becky Hammond instead or whatever? And it's like, bro, like Dawn Staley's, I think she's a Hall of Famer twice. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I don't think she's going to be the head coach. I think it might be Mike Brown. We'll see. But Clarkson's great. I thought this was a good move. The win is also not trading for him in February, apparently, because I thought they could have, but that would have cost like Mitchell Robinson and something. You actually you just give him the minimum.
Save, yeah. No draft picks, no Mitch. You still have Mitchell Robinson, and you still got Jordan Clarkson, the guy that you wanted for some time now.
It's so interesting. I don't know what the rest of the team's going to look like yet. They still have some things that they can do in terms of movement, but man, the Jordan Clarkson move is a good one. Lou, they need to take pressure off Brunson. I agree. And also as Brunson does force some shots. Yeah, the ball sticks to his hand a little bit. I ain't gonna hold you.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
You know, it was very evident in the playoffs. I'll say that much. But I think Clarkson's a smart, wise move. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights checks in. Daniel, what is good? Let us know what you guys think. Not even just about Clarkson, just other moves, because we're about to go around the league. Just another thing on Clarkson here.
Or if there's any moves that you want to see your team make, right? Yeah, I know a lot of us are probably Knicks fans that are in the chat, but if you guys are fans from any other team, drop it in there. Who's your team? We got some Net fans maybe in the building. We got a RG. Heat fan. How you doing, RG? My man Rock Hot Take is in the building. Uncle Rock, how you doing? Hope all is well, fam. Salute to you, baby.
Let me hit Rock's comment first, and then we'll go to RG. Oh, because Rock is talking about Clarkson. And RG, I'll get to. RG's a friend of the show. I got plenty of friends who are Heat fans because my guy Ethan runs 5 Reasons. So I'm in their Discord. They're pretty pissed off that the Heat haven't done anything, but I think that's kind of by design, unfortunately. But we'll get to that in a second. Clarkson, what a chuck! Shaking my head. This is not the way. Now, he's kind of a chuck, but hear me out. Hear me out. Coming off the bench in a 6-man role, this is kind of what it is in the NBA a lot of times. Is it always going to be efficient? No, but you need a shot creator. You got one for the veteran minimum, and you got one who excels in coming off the bench. I thought I read a stat from StatViews that said he has the most points off the bench in the league since 2020. And Bobby Portis was also in that top 3. He was ahead by a lot too. That may be check StatViews' Twitter account.
I got you.
See if we got that. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So I like it from a creativity standpoint, playmaking standpoint. Defensively, it could be a little shaky. So we'll see how that goes. That's the thing with him and Brunson out there together. You better have like a defender in between the two. But I think it's a great low risk play. And if it doesn't work, it costs you nothing. For someone who's still a good NBA player, like a good NBA player. Won't always be efficient, but you know, this is a veteran minimum at the end of the day.
Yeah, there it is. Since 2020.
So this is one of the stats, and then there's the other one.
My fault. I feel stupid now. My apologies. I thought this
he did. Look, he won 6th man of the year, and it said it there too. Most points off the bench since 2020. You know,
yeah.
Okay. I think the amount was 4,500 something crazy like that.
I'm looking it up right now.
Rock chimes in again. Totally makes a sense salary wise, but I just think he's a more consistent pain. He's definitely going to command attention on offense.
Now I want to ask you before we jump back into the graphic when it comes to Jordan Clarkson. Who would you rather be chugging up shots coming off the bench, Jordan Clarkson or hey, you already know where I'm going, or campaign?
Fair. Look at this list. Most points off the bench since 2020. Jordan Clarkson, 4,000 $3,589. Malik Monk, who he's in the rumors. He might get traded. We'll see. 3,882, and Bobby Portis, 3,594. Bobby Portis re-upped with Milwaukee.
That's somebody that I wanted the Knicks to try and go and get.
19 Conman NYC 84. That's a hell of a name.
Clarkson, my man, Conman.
Clarkson is a plus 800 points ahead of second on the list. And Rox's Clarkson's release is more palatable. Yeah, campaign's release could be frustrating. I go hold you. I love it though. I think it's great on the veteran minimum.
Yeah, I think when you compare Jordan Clarkson to Campaign, and no shade to Campaign, because I did love Campaign's energy off the bench, that relationship he had with Mikal Bridges. I think that helped Mikal Bridges ease into a lot of the pressure that Knicks fans was throwing onto him, having somebody that he was cool with on top of Jalen Brunson. But when you look at both Jordan Clarkson or Campaign, Jordan Clarkson has the resume over Campaign. Like that's who you want coming off your bench. Somebody who's a certified bucket, and that's Jordan Clarkson. Somebody that Knicks fans have been screaming for the front office to get for some years now. So I'm happy with it.
And just a real quick look at the salary cap table before we go around the league with more free agency talk. Clarkson's up here because it's not official yet, but veteran minimum, his veteran minimum will be short of $2.3 million. He's making less than Pacome Dadier this year. So, I mean, you'll take that, right? And just looking at it, like, I don't know what else they're going to do. We'll see. They have access to the taxpayer mid-level. It's not that much money. It's like $5 billion to play with, which you could split into multiple players. Obviously, there's trade avenues and things of that nature. But, like Deuce McBride, Jordan Clarkson with like Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, and OG Anunoby is maybe a lineup that you see. OG Anunoby would obviously start, but you're staggering at that point.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot of fun stuff you could do with Jordan Clarkson and his creativity. I don't want to oversell it either. Like, there's going to be games where he's 3 for 12 and he's absolutely going to piss you off. Like, that's just part of it. But I think it's a win for them.
Now, somebody that I wanted the Knicks to get, just because, shout out to Karl Anthony Towns, the big bodega. I'm trying to bring that Dominican sazon over here to the Garden. I wanted the Knicks to go after Al Horford. Right before we got Jordan Clarkson, before it was official, I wanted the Knicks to go after Al Horford as a backup big man and use Mitchell Robinson in the trade to try to get Dante DiVincenzo back with the Knicks. That was my game plan coming into this conversation tonight with us.
So the Knicks are interested apparently. I saw that floating around on Twitter. If we want to pull that up, it was Knicks, it was Warriors. It was obviously the Celtics. Celtics want to try to have him retire in Boston. And I'm blanking on the other two teams, but they were like all pretty much contenders or aspiring contenders that are interested in Al Horford, which I found interesting. I also want to get to Atlanta in a little bit because I'm really intrigued by what they're doing. Here we go.
This is from NBA Central, not NBA Central.
Jesus. League sources say veteran center. This is from Al Horford, from Mark Stein. Imagine Al Horford breaking his own news. League sources say veteran center Al Horford will be a top target for Golden State. Jonathan Kuminga's restricted free agency. That's an interesting name to watch, by the way. By contrast, it's expected to be a slow-moving process in Golden State. Yeah, restricted free agency is not fun. And it wasn't just Golden State, but the Knicks were one of those teams. We got a couple more comments here. Master Shredder is gone. Comment says, Rock says, think we need some backup. This is on behalf of the Knicks, obviously. Think we need some backup wings. Taurean Prince and Portis would have been perfect. They both re-upped in Milwaukee. Yeah. Any word on Ellis from Sacktown? On Keon Ellis? I'd be surprised if Sacramento traded him, but Sacramento's dysfunctional.
They're weird right now. They're very weird.
And they just picked up his team option, which they were going to do because it's so cheap and he's good. Maybe they'll try to extend him at some point, but we'll see. We have another comment here. D-Book for Şengün sounds good for both teams. They're not doing that. I think the Rockets wanted Booker but got Durant because Phoenix is not trading Booker, but I think they wanted Booker.
What do you make? What do you make with that situation? Because I was at Fanatics Fest when that whole situation broke. Like I was literally right there when
Durant?
KD was on. Yeah, when KD was on stage and the trade got broke. I don't want to sidetrack from like the free agency, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on that real quick.
I mean, I think it's a great move for Houston because they didn't give up any of their young guys. Now you worry about a 37-year-old, just general health, but Amen Thompson's going to learn from him. Yeah, Fred VanVleet's still there. Like they have a system in place. It's just, can he be healthy in the playoffs? Okay, RG, because you've been patient. You asked what the Heat are going to do, and then we have other. Just keep dropping questions. We'll pull up some more stuff on the board. Heck, you could just pull some stuff up. Miami's not doing shit. I don't even think we need to search. We'll probably get a bunch of memes though. What are the Heat going to do now? For what I am gauging here is one, and this is interesting throughout the NBA, Duncan Robinson, TBD, but he did opt into, like, he is a free agent. Now, is he going to go back to Miami or is he going to be a sign and trade? That's interesting because he's one of the better shooters in the league, and there are a lot of teams who could use the shooting, Miami included, but like Miami's not really that good right now. So is Duncan Robinson going to take like a 3 for $30 million or something like that? Like a 3 for 33, whatever. And the other interesting piece, and then I'm going to toss it to you, because you wanted to bring this up before.
Yeah.
Malik Beasley was going to get 3 years for $42 million per Shams Charania. He's going to get 3 years for $42 million. He's being investigated for some gambling stuff. Somebody who also works at Action Network. I'm not gonna defame gambling. I think you should do it responsibly, though. And he did not, because he's literally not allowed to do it. And I wonder if that opens things up, because Detroit's been linked to Duncan Robinson and Malik Monk. So is this going to mean that Duncan Robinson's part of a sign and trade to go there? Although there's rumors of a double sign and trade with Malik Monk going to Detroit and then Dennis Schroeder going to Sacramento. So Duncan Robinson, there's talks of him maybe going to the Pistons. He went to school in Michigan and went to school with Karis LeVert, as a matter of fact, who the Pistons just signed. And then otherwise with the Heat, if they can get off Terry Rozier's expiring contract and or Andrew Wiggins' deal, they'll want obviously like a first-round pick for Wiggins, and unless they get one, they might not move him. Like that's kind of the holding pattern that Miami's in. It's just they have a couple guys that they like to get stuff for, Wiggins in particular, Duncan Robinson as well. So,
well, the East is going to be interesting, right? Because yes, as fans, as content creators, right, we love watching the sport and seeing the teams try to get to the postseason and try to win it all. But Bryan, we understand at the end of the day, it's a business. So if the Eastern Conference, with question marks around Indiana, the Boston Celtics, and Milwaukee with the Dame Lillard injury right now, if you're a team like the Miami Heat, you were on the fringe, on the outside of the postseason. All you got to do is make the postseason, whether it's in that first round elimination, whatever fucking that shit is called, or getting to the regular postseason as one of the top 6 seeds. The play-in, right? The play. I just hate the whole concept of the play-in. My fault. I had a brain fart.
I like it.
But what I was saying is that if you're a team that's on the outside looking in, with those 3 teams having question marks, all you got to do is get into the play-in, and you get some of that postseason bonus money. So yes, as fans, as content creators, we would think the smart thing for Miami to do is make some trades to try to get off some money, try to get some assets for the future. But with these question marks in the Eastern Conference, you're going to have a lot of teams that are going to be pretending to be contenders just so they can try to make it into the postseason to get some of that money.
Let's talk about the Hawks. RG also says pull up heck, if you could pull up the Nickeil Alexander-Walker signing.
You got it.
I think the Hawks got Luke Kennard too. So maybe someone just has a tweet with both of them on the Atlanta Hawks side. RG says, I think Duncan lands in Denver. Ooh, he'd be a hell of a fit next to Jokic.
That would be scary.
Oh my God. That shooting next to Jokic. I don't know what Miami would obviously want is like some sort of pick compensation back. I think Miami should be looking to sell some guys. But not Bam.
Agreed.
But like a lot of the other guys. I think Bam is a core foundational, like he's the only guy on your team that's a winner that has won. like really, really won. He was part of.
When the rumors started shaking about him going to the Lakers, I'm like, yeah, the world is rigged.
Yeah, no. The Lakers don't have any picks. Like they don't have like the picks. Like Bam is a guy. Bam's a guy
that you need to get picks for, not fucking
ton.
not Rui Hachimura. No disrespect to Rui, but that's not a.
No, you get a lot. Like he's one of the best complementary players in the league. He's not a number one offensively, but defensively, okay. Houston has 4 centers. Phoenix has 4 shooting guards. They need to trade again to balance it out. Comments says Finney-Smith is a better upgrade over Brooks. I like Dorian Finney-Smith going to Houston, by the way. That was another big signing. We should have mentioned that. I should have mentioned that when we talked about Kevin Durant, but Dorian Finney-Smith leaving the Lakers. This is the thing. This is why I thought the Lakers would get Andrew Wiggins by now. Or maybe they will, because they lost Dorian Finney-Smith.
I was going to say, to be fair, right? I don't want to sound like an a-hole. I do like to play in, right? But at some times when it first got implemented, I thought the rules were very hard to understand, and my ADHD brain took me some time to figure it out. So I do apologize for that crash out.
I like the NBA Cup too, but I feel like I'm more in the minority on that one.
No, I like that. I like that. I'm with you on that one. I like the NBA Cup, the end season tournament. I like that. I just hate the courts.
I watch basketball in Europe and in Puerto Rico and in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I try to in China, but the time difference is difficult. All these leagues have cups, just about, or like a classic or whatever. Like they have these things to add to the regular season. So I'm glad that the NBA is trying to do it. Okay, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He's going to Atlanta, 4 years, $62 million. Reportedly, Trae Young was a part of this, and they also got, I want to say they got Luke Kennard too. They did, and obviously they got Porzingis.
Mm.
I said on Sports Grid last week, like the Atlanta Hawks were kind of my sleeper in the East before all of this. They were like plus 7,000 to win the East, and they look less like a sleeper. I don't think they're better than like the Knicks or the Cavs or anything like that, but like they're one of these teams where it's like, man, they could make a little bit of a run. I kind of think this is a better team than they had when they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
They were playing team last year. They added KP. They just added Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You add that to the core that they already had with those 3 question marks in the Eastern Conference. Trae Young is I thought Tyrese Halliburton was a troll job in the postseason. Get ready for Trae Young back at the Garden.
Rock asked about Porzingis' medicals. Presumably he's okay. That's a constant thing. Look, when you're 7'3" and when you're just 7'3" and you can move like that, then yeah, you're just always going to be an injury risk.
Atlanta's just going to have to manage him. That's it.
Yeah, that's really it. But they have the depth to do it. As I'm pulling up the contracts now, so you see Porzingis is an expiring $30 million. Nall is 14, 15, 15.8, and then he has another year, as we just mentioned, is 4 years. Kennard's getting the $11 million, so that's another good deal for them. That's shooting around Trae Young. There's creativity with Trae Young as well, and some size and shooting with Porzingis. Now, the rest of the roster that was already here, Jalen Johnson, who is really, really good. If you don't watch the Hawks a ton, or if you don't have League Pass, and maybe you don't watch as much, like Jalen Johnson is one of these dudes who's really good, but he gets hurt all the goddamn time. So, you just don't see him for that much of the year, but he's really good. Onyeka Okongwu, people have been waiting for him to break out. Maybe now's his chance. Clint Capella's no longer there. Zachary Richeche, controversially selected number 1 last year overall. He looks like he's going to be good. And Dyson Daniels had a great defensive year last year. Like, Atlanta's got some dudes, man. They have 7 dudes where I'm like, 7, 8 that I really like, and they have the flexibility to do something else.
It's going to be interesting again, because when you look at KP, and just like Rock pointed out, KP's health. What is KP health? At the trade deadline, if KP's health is a question mark for Atlanta, but Atlanta is in the thick of things, they can use him in his expiring contract to go out there and get somebody that's available at the trade market. So for Atlanta, it's a win-win scenario for KP. Either you get a healthy KP who can help dominate in the Eastern Conference, or at the trade deadline, you use his very attractive expiring deal to go out there and add to your team.
Kobe Buffkin is somebody that they have investments in. We'll see how that goes. Terrence Mann, they got him in that 3-team deal. They got him in the Porzingis deal, I think. Or is he going to the Nets? Hold on, I might have that wrong.
Who, Terrence Mann?
Yeah, let me see. No, he's with the Hawks. Okay. Wait. See, this is the problem with shit not becoming official yet. You forget who's on what team. I think he got traded to the Nets. Okay, I was not bugging. Terrence Mann said apparently he was born in Brooklyn Hospital. This is crazy. Really?
Oh, that's crazy. That's the same hospital my mom was born in. My grandmother came over here. She was born there and then went back to Puerto Rico.
Oh, I'll be damned. He was born in Brooklyn.
That's what's up.
Moved to Massachusetts at age 10. I knew he spent some time here. I didn't know he was born here. Oh,
I didn't know. Yeah,
I was born at Elmhurst Hospital. How about St. John's Hospital? No, Elmhurst Hospital. A very different hospital.
I was born in Albert Einstein in the Bronx. Well, it looks like Terrence Mann will get his "I'm Coming Home" video from the Brooklyn Nets when this when the season starts.
Baby picture on the jumbotron.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was born in Brooklyn Hospital. Yeah. That's crazy.
Rock says, "Shout out to Wyckoff Hospital, bro. I was at Wyckoff Hospital yesterday, bro. I was at a party in Bushwick over there.
I have an unnamed family member who works at Wyckoff Hospital and has for a while. Yes." I also grew up very close to Wyckoff Hospital.
Okay, very close. All right. I went to that Cuchi Frito spot that's across the street from Wyckoff. It was horrible. I wanted to cry. I haven't been there I haven't been to the famous Cuchi Frito spot that's right across La Isla.
Oh, okay. Oh no! I misheard you the first time. I thought you were slandering Incas. I was gonna be like,
oh no! What?
Incas is a Bushwick staple.
No, yeah. Never. I know exactly what you talk about.
I love Incas. I had that shit. I went to go see my parents last weekend, and I had it on Friday. I love that spot. All right, Nostalgic Nick, who was in the chat earlier at the New York Post chat, always pops into Nick stuff. Nostalgic Nick, what's up? We talked about Jordan Clarkson already, but if you have any thoughts, we'll throw them up. Nostalgic Nick. What else do we want to hit in free agency?
Well, also too, you brought up Luke Kennard, 1 year, $11 million deal with the Atlanta Hawks. I was just bringing up everything that Shams reported on the Hawks for this one, but for I think the other one that was interesting for me, and I'll bring this up. It hasn't been made official, but it's like the rumor that's circulating right now is the whole DeAndre Ayton situation with the Lakers. What do you make of this? Because we all know that LeBron James opted into the last year of his contract, the first time he ever did that in his career, and people are making a big deal out of it. What's your thoughts around Ayton coming to the Lakers? Ayton, obviously, he's going to be a starter with the Lakers. That's something that he wanted with Portland, something that he's been wanting. And I think DeAndre Ayton, if he was born 20 years ago, or if he was playing 20 years ago, we'd be having a different conversation around DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton is an NBA center from the 2000s, not from the 2020s.
Part of it is also, okay, let me back up. Let me rewind. One of my guys for real, my boy Timmy, he's Bahamian. He's from the Bahamas. Like, he's from the Bahamas. He comes out here to New York occasionally, whatever. And I see him, say what's up. I talk to him regularly, etc. He was in New York for the draft, covering VJ Edgecombe, 3rd overall pick, who I love, and I think it's going to be great, by the way, that Philly got him. He's warned me about DeAndre Ayton, like, yo, he don't really love basketball like that. You know what I mean? Like, he's talented, but like, And Phoenix didn't want to sign him to like a big contract. But they didn't want to lose him for nothing years ago when he was a restricted free agent. Indiana signed him to a massive offer sheet. They were interested. And Phoenix was like, we'll match it, even though people didn't think they were going to. Because Phoenix was like, we don't want to lose him for nothing, because NBA teams are always scared about losing players for nothing. And I think with DeAndre Ayton, it's just like, it's empty calorie numbers. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of these dudes, like, he'll give you 15 and 11 in his sleep. He can do it in 22 minutes. But he kind of just does that. You know, like he's not he's not really like he was on good teams in Phoenix, but as you can see, like they were trying to get off of him for a reason. It just hasn't translated to winning for whatever the reason is. Remember, they had Devin Booker, they had Chris Paul, they had Mikal Bridges, they had Cam Johnson, who we mentioned earlier at the top of the show. Like there's just like he puts up numbers. And to answer your question about the Lakers piece of this specifically, I don't think he makes sense with Luka Doncic either. Like he'll get his numbers and stuff, but Luka needs a screener and an anchor, a guy who's going to rim run, who can play pick and roll, who can roll hard to the basket, who doesn't really need the ball like that because Luka needs the ball. And for now, LeBron needs the ball, and Austin Reeves also needs it a little bit. That's not what Ayton does. He's back to the basket. He wants to fade away. He wants to score. Like, he's not Derek Lively. You know what I mean? Like, just stylistically. He's better in a vacuum, but for what the Lakers are probably looking for, like, I think Jared Allen would be perfect. I don't know how they pull that off. I don't know. I think he's a name, but like, I don't know.
I gotta agree with you. When you look at DeAndre Ayton, there was so much promise. That draft is so funny. He went one over Luka, and now he could potentially be Luka's teammate if that happens. But when you look at DeAndre Ayton, no shade to DeAndre Ayton. He has more talent in his pinky than I have in my whole body when it comes to athleticism. But when you look at DeAndre Ayton, you bring up the fact that Luka needs someone and LeBron needs someone that's going to cut to the rim aggressively. DeAndre Ayton is not going to cut to the rim like Dwight Howard did. DeAndre Ayton is not going to cut to the rim on pick and rolls like Tyson Chandler used to do with the Knicks back in the day, right? That's not his type of game. Like you said, he's very much back to the basket. I'm going to need the ball, and I'm going to tie my defender, take 4 or 5 seconds off the shot clock before I try to lay it up and get 2 points. And that doesn't work when you have an offense that's surrounded around LeBron James and Luka Doncic. You need guys that can space the floor. Jared Allen would have been the perfect candidate for that. If they're able to pull it off, I'm not sure they could do it. I don't think the DeAndre Ayton situation or experiment will work with the Lakers. Somebody that I was talking to who covers both the MLB and the NBA, when talking about DeAndre Ayton, I was texting him earlier. He said DeAndre Ayton reminds him of Alex Rios. If you remember that name from back in the day, was a Puerto Rican outfielder that had all the talent in the world, in the world. He won the home run derby one year, but after that, that was it. Alex Rios fell off the face of the earth, and he compared him to DeAndre Ayton with the same thing that you just said. Alex Rios never fully was in love with baseball. He played baseball just to get a check, and I think that's what DeAndre Ayton does.
I'm glad Rock asked this question because I was literally going here next. The irony is I actually think both New York teams have a center that would be perfect for the Lakers, but I think both teams would and probably should require a lot back. Mitchell Robinson is one of them. If I'm the Knicks, the Lakers don't really have anything I want. Rui Hachimura is one that's like interesting. It's like, are you gonna do like Gabe Vincent and like Dalton Connect? Are you gonna do like Kleber and a pick? Like, if they're not throwing a first, I'm like, no, if I'm the Knicks. But I do think Mitchell Robinson is one of those guys, like with Luka, perfect. Makes a ton of sense. All he's gonna do is catch lobs and play defense, can finish around the rim. Obviously, like you give him the ball, and unless it's summer, he can't do shit with it. You know, it is what it is. With Nick Clarkson is the other one, where if I'm Brooklyn, I'm like, hey, y'all need a center, y'all need an anchor, you need someone who can catch lobs, who's athletic. You know, like Claxton's another guy that makes sense. I don't know why Brooklyn's doing it if they're not getting a pick, especially they're in asset accumulation mode, as we talked about earlier. Like there are guys that make sense for them. Is the point.
When you look at the Knicks and their assets, they don't have many assets to trade. Mitchell Robinson is the only asset, if many, that they have to trade. They got
Josh Hart.
Right, Josh Hart as well. Do you think they move off of Josh Hart? Yeah, I think he would. He technically is an asset, but I would think they would move off of Mitch and Deuce first before they move off of Josh Hart.
Yeah, I think maybe if they get a pick that they could then use for something else, or if it's part of something bigger. But I think I've always kind of went into this offseason being like the Knicks, like the changes are going to come in the coaching staff, and then like the roster is like wait and see. I didn't expect much. You know, like adding things around the margins like a Clarkson, and they'll probably do something else. But I don't expect anything else big. But obviously I could be wrong because, like, you know, I may change my mind in 2 days because something else may happen where it's like, oh, the Knicks could all of a sudden like package
Yeah.
this and this, but it's like I don't know if they're running to move off of like Deuce. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
example.
And I was gonna say, just add on one more thing. If Mitchell Robinson is one of your only assets that you have that's tradable or it's appealing to other teams to trade for, if the return is Rui Hachimura and Dalton Connect, I don't think that's a good return for Mitchell Robinson. You hold him for at least a first round pick, even if it's in the mid-20s. You try to hold off for as long as you can with Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, or a bunch of second rounders but it depends. Like, it's like, well, Mr. Robinson, he's when he's healthy, you know what he is. It's just, you need him to be healthy. That's part of it too. DeAndre Ayton, though, like, I'll say this: if the Lakers were to get a Claxton or a Jared Allen somehow, that would be tough to do, even especially for Cleveland. And I don't even know what's in it for them at that point. But I mean, unless it's LeBron for Garland and Jared Allen. But I don't.
I forgot I had my soundboard. My fault. This entire time.
Oh, we're gonna have fun with it. By the way, we might do this again tomorrow. If you don't know, we're streaming on both the Uptown Sports channel and my own channel, which is just at my name. So subscribe to us both, support us both. We're gonna do some more collabs because we've been talking about doing this for a while. We feel like now's the time. We've been talking about Discord too. We want to launch. We're in the process of launching.
Yes, we're in the process of launching a Discord. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. We got over 425 people watching us collectively across all platforms. Guys, if you guys can, follow my man Bryan. Make sure you guys go over to YouTube. Follow Bryan Fonseca. You could just look it up, just like the name is typed up on the screen. Google it on YouTube, on all social media platforms as well. If you're on my YouTube, if you click the description of this video, Bryan's channel is in the description of this video, y'all.
I have Hector's information in the description of mine too for the people here on my channel. So we appreciate it. Yeah, we want to do another one of these tomorrow night. By the way, I should mention. So if some things happen, if it's just completely dead, maybe we'll come on here and speculate a little bit. And obviously we want to talk some Mets Yankees later in the week, even though the Mets.
I was going to say Thursday we'll be doing a Subway Series special. It's going to be big. Sunday I'm going to be at Citi Field covering the game. So make sure you guys are following on all social media platforms, on TikTok, and make sure you spam the chat so Bryan can get a TikTok also. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I have TikTok. I just kind of post there from Opus, and then I just don't go on it. I clear the notifications. That's it. The Mets are pissing me off. We won't talk about them today. But I'm very worried, and yeah, I'm just worried about my guys. Anyway, what else do we have for free agency that we need to touch on?
For free agency, what else do we have? Real quick,
Ayton was interesting. I do think I wanted to say this as you pull up something. I do think Ayton could be functional as a backup for the Lakers, but I still think they need to get like somebody else who makes more sense stylistically with Luka and with LeBron. Gary Trent Jr.
going back to Milwaukee. And the reason why I bring this up, this is another name that Knicks fans, along with Jordan Clarkson, some Knicks fans wanted with the team. Obviously, he returned back to Milwaukee.
Like, fans of a lot of teams wanted
Gary Trent Jr. If you're Milwaukee with the Dame Lillard injury, you got to do whatever you can to put some type of team around Giannis next year. Because even though Dame is out, Giannis is still your main horse. That's the number one guy that your offense run to. Your team is built around, and it goes down with the ship around Giannis. So you got to do whatever you can to make some type of competitive team around that man next year.
All right. He signs for 2 years for $7.5 million. A little surprising to me that it was that low, but I get it. So I'm gonna pull this up real fast because I want to see what's with Milwaukee. Milwaukee, interesting offseason, kind of, sort of, maybe, probably not. Damian Lillard's obviously not. We're not expecting to see him.
Yeah, and they brought back Bobby Portis also.
Yeah. We're gonna get there. We got Giannis still. By the way, let me break this out a little bit more. Giannis is expiring in 2028. He has 3 more years on his contract because I know people, like, in terms of trades, like, that's going to be a thing. TBD. As of now, it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. But you look at the rest of the roster, this is a lot of just caca. You know what I'm saying? Like, with Damian Lillard out, it's not great. You have Bobby Portis coming back. I like Bobby Portis. Like really, I like Bobby Portis a lot. I think that's a contract to be moved. Kevin Porter Jr., I guess. Gary Trent Jr., good value. Taurean Prince, pretty good value. He's the size of a small forward who plays power forward, who rebounds like a shooting guard, but he can shoot. They're kind of just running it back. And that's really? That's what you're doing, Milwaukee? Okay. If you're Giannis, what are you thinking?
If I'm Giannis, I'm upset that we even have Kevin Porter Jr. on the team and his dumb ass. But no, but if I'm Giannis, you're looking at the front office like, what can you do? They don't have any first round picks. They use a bunch of their first round picks to get Dame. They got a bunch of dead money on their books. If you're Giannis, you're looking at that 3 years before you hit free agency, and you're telling the front office you got to do whatever you can, move heaven and hell, heaven and heaven and mountains, whatever you guys got to do. Yeah, heaven and hell. Whatever you got to do to get some talent there. Now you got Kyle Kuzma. I think Kyle Kuzma, it's okay. Doesn't get them over the hump, but
he was bad last year. I don't think he's that bad. I also don't think he's as good as he was a couple years ago. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
No, and when he's not the number one offensive option or even the number 2 option on your team, his numbers got inflated when he was with the Wizards. That's just all it is. True.
I think but his ideal role is it should be this, but he just sucked last year. I don't.
Yeah. Maybe he needed to get comfortable playing around a championship winning player like Giannis. I don't know. Maybe he needed to get comfortable. Hopefully this year he could show something, and if not, then he's an expiring contract next year that he could trade. Do you think they trade Giannis? Because Nostalgic Nick in the chat, Giannis to Miami. Do you think they trade Giannis?
Nostalgic Nick said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It's funny. Giannis and Bam share an agent. I don't know because if you're Miami, you want to pair Giannis and Bam, like that. That's the point of doing it. Is it enough to not trade Bam to do like Hero, Wiggins, all the picks, Khalil Ware? Like is that enough? Maybe. I mean, maybe because you're probably looking at it like Pat Riley's 80. Maybe those picks are going to be good later, but I don't know. I think the Heat are going to do something at some point, but right now they're just kind of sitting on their hands, and I'm not sure if that guy is Giannis. I feel like it might be 2 years away. Like I feel like when Anthony Edwards, I don't want to say when. Let me not be disrespectful. If Anthony Edwards asked out of Minnesota because it's Minnesota, no disrespect.
It's Minnesota.
but for real. But if they kind of plateaued now, like if they can't get back to the Western Conference Finals, and if he's getting frustrated, and if the team has to keep losing players, they're bringing a lot of guys back, but they lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Like if it just doesn't work out, it happens sometimes. Then I think that's the kind of dude I could see Miami like going for in a couple of years. They need to build up more draft capital. Giannis to the Knicks obviously was a hot rumor, and I think it will be one when it inevitably comes up again. Towns and draft stuff, or there's a Mikhail OG Anunoby, like that kind of thing that you can do. Like, but it's going to take a lot because Giannis is Giannis. You got to always mention the Lakers, but I don't think Giannis is going to retire there. Is what I'll say. I don't.
I brought up a tweet earlier from Heat Culture talking about Miami and any Miami Heat fans that are in the chat. The last time the Miami Heat made a trade in the offseason, it was 4 years ago when they got Kyle Lowry.
Which was a sign-and trade. Kyle Lowry was the best free agent that year. Crazy.
That's crazy to even say.
The GM survey ranked him as like the best player to switch teams or whatever it was. Like it was the biggest offseason acquisition.
Another name that Knicks fans wanted.
I think he's going back to Philly. Miami doesn't make a lot of trades lately. Look, they had the most playoff wins in the NBA for a 4-year stretch between the bubble run and the last time they made it to the finals. And they had a 4-year stretch of 3 conference finals, including 2 finals appearances, but they didn't win. So now it's like they don't have Jimmy Butler. So I don't know how they get back quickly. But I think next year is going to look more clear. I just think they got to stop tricking themselves into thinking that Tyler Hero is like a number 1 or even a number 2 guy. The problems start there. You're forcing him to be somebody he's not. And the fear that their fans have is that they're going to pay him like somebody he's not.
Yeah.
But if you're the Bucks, if you're the Hawks, if you're the Knicks, if you're the Magic, if you're Detroit, like that's what you want. All right, let him. Cleveland, Boston, let him keep playing. Indiana, let him keep playing Tyler Hero. Like he's a number 1 guy. We'll just keep cooking him in the postseason.
When it comes down to Miami, right, and Pat Riley, because again, God bless him in his age. He's up there. He's 80 years old. But when you look at the Miami Heat, they have been a team and an organization that have been at a level of consistency that not that many teams in the NBA can say that they have been, right? So when you look at the Miami Heat, what do you have their future being? Is Bam Adebayo on the team within the next 3 years? Is Tyler Hero on the team? Or may I say, how about this? What is more realistic, right? And I'm going to remove this share screen. What is more realistic? Them trading Tyler Hero or them trading Bam Adebayo? Or neither?
It's probably neither. It should be Hero, because I think Bam's the guy you keep. Like Bam was there for all the Jimmy winning. Like we could say they didn't win anything without Jimmy. They didn't do it without Bam either. They did it. They literally did it without Tyler, because Tyler was awful in the 1 seed team in the playoffs. He was awful in the playoffs that year. The team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals and lost in Game 7 to Boston, where Jimmy went for the 3 and it just missed. And then the next year they went to the finals after Tyler got hurt, despite being 8 seed, which is kind of crazy. And since we're talking about them, guess whose salary cap table we're going to put up next real quick to break this down further. So Bam's max is about to kick in after this upcoming year. It looks like a huge contract now for 51, 55, 59 million. It's going to look better as the cap rises, and also like the credentials that he's had. Up until this year, he was the only player in the NBA who was top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting for 5 straight years. And he was a starter in all those 5 years. He wasn't a starter the first 2 years, which is to say there was a 5-year stretch where every year he was a starter, he was all defense, which is crazy. He was also top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting all those years, which is nuts. And offensively, he could still give you 20 a game and make other guys better. Like you watch their games, he does a lot for that team. A lot, like on both ends. Like, and Tyler is just like, if he doesn't have the ball, he's not being impactful. He's a different type of dude. And those types of guards, unless they're like elite, don't win you shit in the playoffs. They just don't. Like the guards who win titles are like Tyrese Halliburton makes his teammates better. He didn't win a title, but he got very close and might have been healthy. Derek White, Drew Holiday, elite 2-way players. Shea is obviously like a 1 of 1. Jalen Brunson got to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. I know people kill him for like the defense and pounding the ball, but he's also an elite offensive player, like elite. Like you have to be better than Tyler Hero if you're going to be the number 1 on an offensive team. I think they know that, but I don't know. I think the baseline for them, like the bare minimum this summer, should be move Wiggins for something involving a pick. Move Rozier, dump Rozier if you can, but if not, you could just like keep him. He's expiring. Who cares? And who else do they have to move that we were Duncan Robinson, who's not listed here. Obviously, if he goes somewhere else, make it a sign and trade to get like something back. That's
when you look at Andrew Wiggins, what teams do you think would be interested in him?
The Lakers are reportedly one. You have to think of teams that need wings, right? Like he's not a bad player. He didn't have a great year.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's
Brooklyn would be interesting because they're like tanking. But the problem is, if you're the Heat, like why you're not going to attach a pick to get off Wiggins? So that doesn't make sense. Detroit's actually interesting. Detroit's a little interesting in that regard.
Detroit would be interesting. Now, when you bring up Brooklyn, right? Terry Rozier, right? That's another player, and that's another contract.
If you're the Heat, you don't want to attach a 1st-round pick to get off Terry Rozier. Not for
no. I'm not saying just Terry Rozier, but if you're Brooklyn, you call them up like, hey, if you're trying to get off of Terry Rozier, let's make something work with Andrew Wiggins, Terry Rozier, and a pick.
If you're the Heat, you're like, nah, bro. We can't keep trading picks
I'm
because
just saying.
they traded one to get Terry Rozier with Kyle
Yeah,
Lowry. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I also think they should extend Nikola Jovic. I think he's good. I just think they need to fucking figure out what to do with him in terms of his role because
Mm.
he's a corner shooter, then he's a creator, then he's a handler who could score sometimes, and he's back to being in the corner. Then he plays 12 minutes this half and sits this half, and it's just all over the place. And it's like he's a good player. He's Hidu Turkoglu-ish. I think they should
Yeah.
play him more.
I,
All right.
I think with Wiggins, I think Detroit would be someone to be on the look for because one, with the whole Malik Beasley situation, you add a veteran wing like Andrew Wiggins to that young core, that young group of players. Andrew Wiggins, he's won a championship with the Golden State Warriors. You add him into that locker room around them young players, that's a voice that should be in that locker room.
Let's see. We have a recap. Can you actually pull up this tweet? This is the latest tweet from Underdog NBA. They do a good job with the recaps. They just tweeted a summary from day one of player movement. I guess we could end on this, unless anybody has comments, questions. Nostalgic Knicks says Bam is mediocre. I strongly disagree.
I don't think Bam is mediocre.
But I get it because I know a lot of Knicks fans don't like him. So I get it. Okay, we're not going to read out this whole thing, but player movement. This is what a lot of these guys ended up staying where they were, but let's see if there's anything here worth mentioning. Oh, D'Angelo Russell and Brook Lopez, I think, are worth talking about briefly.
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell going to Dallas. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good move. One, it's very cheap money. 2-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. I think 11 million or 13 million.
12, yeah, 11 to 13, somewhere.
Yeah,
like
11, 13 in that range. With Kyrie Irving going to missing the first part of the season, I think having D'Lo there, hopefully Anthony Davis is healthy as well. I think that's a solid pickup by the Mavs. Everybody was clowning Nico after he traded Luka, but look what he turned that into. Well, look what the league turned that into, if I may say. Cue the X-File music.
Yeah, what did you say? Fortune favors the bold. Get the fuck out of here, Nico Harris. What are you talking about?
Bro, listen, I was outside and a bird shit on me twice. There ain't no fortune over here, right, my guy?
D'Angelo Russell, also Spencer Dinwiddie's a free agent, I believe. So Spencer Dinwiddie replacement. Ironically, because they were teammates at one point. I covered those Nets teams pretty closely. Speaking of the Nets, Brook Lopez, 2 years, $18 million to the Clippers. Backing up Ivica Zubac. Yo, the Clippers are sneaky. Like the only thing is I just don't trust James Harden at all in the playoffs. But man, they got some pieces.
They do.
Powell was great last year. Zubac was great last year. Kawhi Leonard was healthy enough. Harden was good in the regular season.
Yeah, it's just about managing your veterans and Harden and Kawhi. More Kawhi than anything else. I know a lot of people, they hate the whole minute restriction conversation, but when you have somebody like Kawhi Leonard who's been dealing with injuries going back to his time in San Antonio, now that he's up there in age, you got to manage his minutes as best as you can. You keep him on 30 minutes until you get to the postseason.
They kept Nicholas Batum as well, which I thought was a nice move. And they still have Bogdanovich, who I think could have a bounce back season this year. So they're an interesting team. Derrick Jones Jr. is still there. That's a tradable contract.
Do you have there? Is this something? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So here we go. The salary cap table. Kawhi's getting 50 and then 50.3 next year. In line with James Harden's in terms of timeline. Because his 2-year deals for like 81 million roughly. There's 39.1 and then 42.3. Brook Lopez's deals already here. Nicholas Batum, what that projection is. Man, listen, the Clippers were in on Kevin Durant, like I think a little bit more than the public knew. But if they put Zubac in the deal, maybe they have him, but then you don't have a center. And Brook Lopez probably shouldn't start at the stage. He's going into year 18.
Yeah, Jesus.
Clippers, man, I like their top. We'll call it 8. Chris Dunn, 9. Actually, 9. I like their top 9. Look, Kawhi, Harden, in no particular order. Kawhi, Harden, Powell, Zubac, Lopez, Batum, Bogdanovich, Derek Jones Jr., Chris Dunn. That's a solid top 9. I feel like they could add another guy or two, but I like what the Clippers are doing. I just don't know if I trust James Harden still.
I think adding another veteran like Brook Lopez, like you said, is definitely a backup player at this stage of his career, but he can still stretch the floor. He can still knock down a 3-point shot, and he's still tough down there in the paint. Again, shout out to Brook Lopez. 18 years.
18.
His rookie year was the year after I graduated high school. That's how old I am. That's crazy, bro.
My first year covering the league, and the first team I covered was the 2016-17 Nets, was his last year in Brooklyn. Very good interview that year, despite being on a 20-win team. Brook Lopez, a hell of a leader as well. Okay, so Nickeil Alexander, Walker, Dorian Finney-Smith, Bruce Brown, Jordan Clarkson. We mentioned all these. Nall to the Hawks, Dorian to the Rockets, Bruce Brown to the Nuggets, Clarkson. We skipped over a couple already. Also, Ty Jerome to the Grizzlies.
Returning home.
Ty Jerome to the Grizzlies was interesting.
Okay.
3 years, $28 million. Not going to do a deep dive on that, but like it's a pretty good backup guard for John Morant. Or is it a contingency plan if John Morant gets traded down the line? I don't quite think that, but it's interesting. Santi Aldama's back. Cam Spencer's back. Grizzlies look like they're running it back minus Desmond Bane. Kennard to the Hawks, you mentioned. Mason Plumlee to the Hornets. Okay. Jake LaRavia to the Lakers. Sneaky signing for them. He'll stretch the floor. That's pretty good. Tyus Jones. Oof. Okay. I got the Magic. We have the Orlando Magic's salary cap table. Tyus Jones, $7 million for 1 year. This is like perfect for Orlando. They needed shooting. They got Desmond Bane. They gave up a lot. Tyus Jones to run point, most likely off the bench because Jalen sucks. Like, this is perfect, and they still have Jonathan Isaac's $15 million. Goga Patazi's 8.3. Wendell Carter's 10.8. And then his extension kicks in at 18, 19, and 21. But they have contracts that can move and do something else, is the point. I like what Orlando's doing. I think they're super legit.
I love what Orlando's doing. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm a big Paolo fan. I love that man. Again, he reminds me of Carmelo Anthony. As a Knicks fan, I got a soft spot in my heart for Carmelo Anthony, like most Knicks fans do. But I love Paolo, and I think next year, I know this past year he averaged 25 points, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me just 25. Hold on, wait. I think 25.9 points per game, 7.5 rebounds. I think next year he's going to have a breakout season, do even better than what he did last year. And he's going to have that Anthony Edwards breakout season. What I mean is that when Anthony Edwards made it to the postseason, it was talking all hella mess. It was on everyone's social media timeline. I think that's what Paolo going to do in the postseason specifically, with the question marks that are in the Eastern Conference. I think this is the year for Paolo to have his coming out party in the East.
And also looking at Orlando, like, they have Anthony Black, who started looking like a player toward the end of the year last year. Tristan Da Silva, who I think he's on a great contract. Obviously, he's a rookie last year. I think he's going to give him something. Stretch ability, the shooting. Jet Howard, we'll see. And they also have my guy Ethan Thompson from the Puerto Rican national team on a 2-way contract.
Wepa.
We'll see. We'll see if Ethan Thompson can give him something. But yeah, he also hopefully he does, because he's 26. So this is a shot. Ethan Thompson's been with the national team for a minute. I wonder if he'll play in the. He probably won't. Who am I kidding? I was gonna say I wonder if he'll play in the America Cup this summer, but I doubt it. The women, by the way, lost to Team USA today, but they're 1-1 because they beat Colombia the other day, the Puerto Rican women's national team. Yeah, I paid $5 for the Continental Cup on courtside 1891. Anyway, yeah, I got the whole tournament. Listen, I watched this shit, man. I watched it tomorrow too. Yeah.
Listen, it's fine, bro. I got me a subscription where I watch some random Parcheesi tournaments in Puerto Rico, so you're good, bro. Ain't no judgment over here. You good.
All right, to wrap up, Kevon Looney to the Pels. This was shocking to me. 2 years, $18 million to the Pelicans. So or $16 million, whatever it was. Pelicans have Derek Queen, Yves Missi, Kevon Looney, still Zion Williamson. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what they're doing over there.
I don't know either. And it's crazy you bring up Zion. I know he was just talking about the Magic and Jones. It's crazy that out of that Duke team, Jones is the one that's probably going to be on a playoff team next year. Out of RJ, Cam Reddish, and Zion, Tyus Jones, the most unpopular player out of the four of them is most likely going to be on a playoff team next year. But no, I don't know what the Pelicans are doing.
Unless RJ Barrett gets traded.
To the Pelicans?
No.
Oh, if he gets okay.
Just traded, period. I don't know what the Pelicans are doing. I love Trey Murphy. I love Jose Alvarado, speaking of the Puerto Rican national team.
Mm-hmm.
Covered him in high school a little bit. Shout out to Christ the King. And Herb Jones, one of my favorite defensive players in the league. I don't know what the fuck that team is doing. I have no idea. All right, Paul Reed back to the Pistons. Karis LeVert, as we mentioned, is going to the Pistons. Clint Capella back to the Rockets. Jeff Green back to the Rockets. Didn't even see that one. Aaron Holiday back to the Rockets. Goddamn. Jayshawn Tate back to the Rockets, which was interesting to me because I thought he wanted to get playing time. But all right. Trendon Watford's leaving the Nets for the Sixers. Luke Kornet, 4 for 41 to the Spurs from the Celtics. We'll talk about that a little bit. Colin Gillespie back to the Suns. Nigel Hayes Davis to the Suns. Nigel Hayes is back? Hold on. I didn't see this. Didn't come. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Hold on.
I think I'm more. He was. Oh my god. Nigel fucking Hayes Davis. For people who don't remember Nigel Hayes Davis, I think he says something shitty. Like he said something about I hate New York one time, and then he wound up on the Westchester Knicks.
He was drafted in 2017.
He's a great story. This past year, he won EuroLeague Final Four MVP, EuroLeague champion with Fenerbahce from Turkey. All EuroLeague first team last 2 years. One of the best players in Europe the last 2 years.
During his time in Florida, during the NCAA tournament,
Mm-hmm.
he said, New York City, it's too big, it's dirty, there's trash everywhere, too many people, and it's cold right now. I don't like being in the cold. Listen, as somebody who lives in New York City and has to be in the cold, I hate the cold too, my guy. I hate the cold too, but
even
still,
though he's from Ohio, but I get it.
I'm gonna do my joke, my Noah shit, my yoke. Who goes to Miami? Who goes to Cleveland on vacation? Who does that?
The joke of Noah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, I didn't know he was back in the league. Shout out to listen. I love when dudes just work their way back, or women in the WNBA, or just athletes in general when they're out of the pro league for a while, then they work their way back. He had a cup of coffee with the Lakers. At one point,
that's like when people throw shade on like Anthony Bennett's name. I'm like, Anthony Bennett is still playing professionally around the world. Like you could talk all you want, say he was a bust, probably the worst #1 pick ever, but he's still getting paid overseas, making his money.
Right. Anthony Bennett. Fun fact: the first athlete I ever did, the first NBA player I ever did a feature story on was Anthony.
Fire. Bennett. That's fire.
When he was trying to make his comeback with the Nets.
Dope.
Didn't last long. Nigel Hayes Davis played 9 career NBA games. Got to deal with the Suns. I love it. If I were a GM, I'd be all the time. I'd be signing dudes from Europe, from Australia, from China, from Puerto Rico, from a whole bunch of different. Like I would be looking all over the place. Mexico's got a pretty good professional basketball league. Shamari Pons, actually from St. John's, won a title, I believe, down there within the last couple of years. Shout out to Nigel Hayes Davis. That was very cool to see. And Joe Ingles going back to the Wolves. That's our night one recap, unless something else breaks.
Two final questions before we get ready to get out of here.
Absolutely.
One, I know we talked on Luke Kornet going to the Spurs. With Luke Kornet going to the Spurs, what do you think happens with CP3?
I know there's some Knicks fans who want him. He has to go on a good team, I think. But I don't know what that looks like, right? Like before Clarkson, I would have said he made sense on the Knicks. I know there's some Knicks fans who hate that idea, but whatever. I don't think we need to entertain it anymore like that. I guess the Lakers, you have to consider them because they're the Lakers.
His relationship with Braun,
even though they've never played together. Like he never, like for years, we were like Bron and Melo, and then he didn't get there until like Melo was like in year 30 or whatever. Stupid. Not Melo, obviously Melo's not.
Yeah.
I'm saying that was stupid. He shouldn't have joined the Lakers at that point. Wasn't worth it. It's a good question. I don't know. I look around the league and it's like, who are the teams? I can see him going back to the Spurs, but like,
I can see that.
So many guards already. So I'm like,
I can see that as a possibility, right?
What does Chris Paul want? I guess is the answer. Like, does he want to compete or does he want to just mentor? Like, what role does he want?
And then Stephon Cascio has emerged also as like a really solid player. Shout out to Stephon Cascio. I did a podcast with his uncle back in the day, Hard Will. So shout out to Stephon Cascio. But I would say when it comes to CP3, the Lakers, obvious choice. Him returning back to San Antonio, that's an option. Another team out there that people ain't talking about that need a point guard is Milwaukee. With the Dame Lillard injury.
Well,
if you think
Rivers
about
is
it,
the coach.
If you think about it, it makes all the sense in the world. One, his relationship with Doc Rivers. Two, him and Giannis, they don't hate each other, you know?
If he has a good relationship with Doc Rivers, they're worth the consideration.
And if you're CP3, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if I was CP3, right, Bryan, I will want to win my first championship before having to go play with LeBron. Because if I team up with LeBron and I win that championship,
also.
True. But if CP3 teams up with LeBron and he gets that championship, everybody's going to say it's only because of LeBron. It's because you play with LeBron.
Dallas is another team, although I don't think they're contenders necessarily, but they got D'Angelo Russell now, but I still feel like, maybe there's room to have a point guard there. Orlando pre-Tyus Jones would have made sense. Damn, that would have been actually perfect. Chris Paul's an interesting one. I don't know if he swings the title, but he's still a good player. And he's not going to he's going to go in there. He's one of these guys. This is very important when you're coming off the bench, especially as a guard. He's not going to fuck it up. He's not going to fuck it up. It's a great question. I don't know. Milwaukee's interesting, though. I could see that.
Again, like you said, his relationship with Doc Rivers, him and Giannis, they don't hate each other. And if you were to compare both teams, who do you think he has a better chance winning the championship? With the Lakers or with Milwaukee? And I think it's a toss-up. I think both teams are even at this point. You're giving more to the Lakers because they have both Bron and Luka. Giannis is only Giannis. There's no Dame Lillard. He's gone.
But the Bucks are in the East, which is
that was going to be my last point. Yeah. It'll be easy to get to it's an easier path to the championship.
You're right. You're so right. Would he back up Trae Young in Atlanta?
Ooh, that would be scary. That would be scary. If he was willing to back up Trae Young in Atlanta, I don't see why not.
Where's Chris Paul from again? North Carolina, that's right. I was like, it was either Atlanta or North Carolina. He went to.
He ain't going to the Hornets. I know that.
No. Now, I don't think the Hornets are going to be trash this year.
No.
But Chris Paul should not be with LaMelo Ball.
No.
Chris Paul and LaMelo Ball on the same team.
No. I do like the Trae Young. I do like Atlanta. I do like him backing up Trae Young. I like that more than Giannis and the Lakers.
I might have said Boston if Tatum were healthy.
True. Yeah, if Tatum was healthy, I could see that.
And even despite that, like if I saw that, I'm like, yeah, I could see that. That kind of makes sense. The Heat need a point guard. But the problem is, like, they need a point guard.
Yeah. With Boston trading a lot of players and like flipping a lot of contracts and stuff and letting people leave, like Luke Cornett, can you see the Boston Celtics trading Jaylen Brown?
It's going to take a lot, but everything's on the table with Boston, including Derek White and Jaylen Brown. It's just going to take the most to trade those two. Like, it's going to take so much. So I don't think they're going to. I don't. It would surprise me. Derek White would surprise me more because Derek White is on a better contract. He's not a better player in a vacuum, although some people would say he is. But Jaylen Brown's making literally twice the money that Derek White is.
Yeah.
So I think if you're Boston, see what you can get. But I don't think they're going to be that bad this year. So, like, the guy Anthony Simons, he's not terrible. He's not like my type of.
I've always been a fan of him.
He's not my type of player, like in terms of profile, but they could hide him on defense. He could score, like he coming off the bench and give you buckets, and he might be better than Drew Holiday at this stage, given what we've seen from Drew Holiday in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right on that one. But
doesn't look like we're gonna get anything else tonight.
No, I was just about to say that. I was just checking my Twitter feed right now. I do not see anything.
Yeah, but thank you guys for watching. If you commented, if you donated, if you supported, we appreciate it. We want to do this again tomorrow if there's enough. If there's enough news, and even if there's not, we might just speculate on a bunch of shit.
We'll talk. Well, if there's no news, we'll talk more about the Knicks and their search for a head coach, because they're signing players before having a head coach to coach the team.
May or may not have a guest. We'll see. The plan this week is to do this again tomorrow, and then we want to talk Mets Yankees Thursday night. And then moving forward, we'll see what we are planning on launching a Discord, legitimately. Us with some friends. Ghost was in here in the chat. He's part of that.
Shout out to Ghost. Future as well was in the chat as well. Shout out to Future. He's a part of that. And Nabila as well from Latino Sports.
Yes.
She covers our combat sports side of things over there.
So you'll be seeing more of us. And it's going to be a fun summer. We're going to have some things to talk about. Even when the NBA sort of dies down, we're going to have some things to talk about.
No, definitely. Especially because, we both have our specialties, right? I'm more MLB, you're more NBA. We could switch it up as well. Boxing as well. But listen, I look forward to doing this. Shout out to Bryan. Shout out to my man Dexter Henry behind the scenes working magic, putting us together, me and Bryan, everybody else that's a part of this. I myself will be at the Major League All-Star Game July 11th. I'm headed out there for that week. So make sure you guys are following, because you'll get some content from out there from the MLB All-Star Game. Maybe me and Bryan go live just to talk some shit after a home run derby. We'll throw it out there and we'll see. But I'll be live down in Atlanta for the All-Star Game. So just keep a lookout on it.
Is Pete Alonso doing a home run derby again?
I think. Let me look up right now. MLB home run. That's his favorite thing to do.
Yeah, the Pete Alonso Invitational, as I jokingly call it. My dad doesn't like when Pete Alonso does the home run derby.
As of right now, it's Kyle Riley from the Mariners.
Okay.
And there's only two players that are official: Kyle Riley and Ronald Acuna Jr. Yeah, Acuna. It was funny because I did an interview with Acuna. Make sure you guys check it out, latinosports.com. We presented Acuna with his 2023 Latino Sports MVP award, and literally right after he did an interview with us, he immediately went to MLB to announce that he is in the home run derby.
I imagine that Aaron Judge has been asked, but
no.
But yeah. If it was a yes, we'd know by now. Probably Shohei Ohtani is probably the same. I hope Eugenio Suarez does it, because he's done wonders for my fantasy team this year.
I love Suarez.
And Pete Crow Armstrong, former Mets prospect, also.
Oh yeah,
great.
Javi Baez, right?
Was it that trade? That's probably
that was a Javi Baez trade. Yeah.
Kind of wish we kept Javi Baez, but it doesn't look like that was the right move at the end of the day. Would have been the right move was what they ended up doing, so that's fine. Okay. Hector, I'm Bryan Fonseca. We will be back tomorrow night. More free agency talk. Thank you for watching.
Drink your water.